Living Redefined on SAFM with Makgarebe.
All right, it's time for 10 minutes with our guest today is Dr. Faith Mashele, who is a chartered procurement and supply professional. She's part of the top 100 supply chain women in Africa. She's also a procurement executive, a thought leader, as well as a philanthropist. Dr. Faith, Dr. Mashele, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Afternoon, Chaba. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, so with a procurement career that spans almost 20 years, tell us where the journey began.
My journey in procurement started when I landed a role where I had to evaluate commercial considerations for a tender process. Chaba, I consider myself a procurement ninja, as I've been fortunate to have experienced the best of both worlds, working in the private and the public sector across industries such as education, ICT, financial services, and in government.
All right, and let's talk layman's terms. Talk to us about your career position as a chartered procurement and supply professional. What exactly does this entail?
I usually say that procurement is, in a layman's terms, and I'm glad you're taking it there, is buying. So we buy goods, the hair, the glasses, the shoes, you name it. That's all part of buying, and we're all buyers on a daily basis. However, when it comes to a corporate procurement perspective, where the rules are different, where things are done not in a way where personally where you have to buy bread. If you need to eat now, you can buy bread from any shop. But if you're doing it from a corporate procurement space, you would need to consider certain rules and ways of doing it. And being a chartered procurement and supply professional means that you have the license to operate. You have the license for you to do this kind of work, and people can trust that the work that you have done is correct.
All right, and thank you for explaining that to us. Let's talk about representation in your particular field. How are things looking?
I would say that in this space, we're still seeing one. So if you're talking about from a professional perspective and the people who do the work, there is still that imbalance that is generally seen across the board. However, I want to also stress the fact that over time, having worked in this space, I became drawn to the need for procurement to become inclusive, and hence this evolved to my studies. And my biggest drive really was to say, how do we become more inclusive? How do we make sure that procurement can involve more players who can add value and also benefit from the landscape of procurement? So, for instance, if I talk about when the UN Women in 2019 launched the Gender Responsive Procurement Conference, I spoke at that conference as one of the experts and also driving the message home to say, in a procurement landscape, there is a need for us to be inclusive and sustainable.
And talk to us about the importance of ensuring that your passion, one, which I have no doubt that you are about your industry, and your profession interlinked. Do you feel like you've successfully merged the two?
Oh, absolutely, Sichava. So when I say I'm a procurement ninja, I have worked in practice and also have had taken this to the academic space. Where I currently am, Sichava, I have now evolved into a space that allows me to share my knowledge. So talking about the passion that I have and also using the expertise to co-create solutions, using the expertise to then look at business and advisory to say, how do we then make this procurement space more inclusive? How do we make it more palatable? And I like how you took me back to in a layman's terms, because the need now is to say that how do we then simplify it so that people can understand that we're talking about buying and a buying that if it is not done in the right way, it will end up with consequences as maybe front page headlines or just being seen on the wrong side of things. So I'm now actually feeling like my passion and what I studied for have actually come to a space where they now work together.
And we'll achieve so much when we break these terms or these big terms down, because I think that's what scares a lot of people into thinking, what is this? How do I venture in it? Is it accessible? Is there inclusion, representation? So I think just breaking it down with regards to what it is that you precisely do makes you more relatable, and the next young woman thinking, I could possibly do this. This is where my strength lies, and I don't think it then becomes daunting. But talk to us about Makgarebe, Mahikeng. You started it with your sister. Tell us about it, and what are you guys working on?
Thank you. So Makgarebe Mahikeng is a platform that really also stems from that, the need to become more inclusive of women in society. So we co-founded a platform where we are saying that women can connect with each other, and also creating a space for collaborating amongst themselves and also with the broader society. With this platform, Makgarebe Mahikeng really aims to share and showcase the wealth of talent that comes from our hometown, Mahikeng, because we believe that in us telling these narratives, in us creating this database, and really the tribe of women who are able to plant back and plow back to society and connect with other role players in the market space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talk to us about the importance of, more so in your field, collaboration and partnership.
I love that you're taking me there, Sichaba, because this is precisely one of the ways in which we can enrich the space or promote the idea of us making procurement sustainable. There is a model that it also came from my studies, where I spoke about the fact that we need to have deliberate policies, but then even though we have deliberate policies, we need to then have partners who would then be able to implement these policies and also be able to unlock socio-economic value for all that are involved. So in my space, collaboration and partnership is really something that is quite key. And like I said, it's something that also I explored in my academic studies.
All right. Dr. Mashele, in closing, where do we catch you and what are you up to, very quickly?
In closing, you can catch me on LinkedIn, you can catch me on Facebook, and in the next 6 months, I will be involved in leveraging digital platforms. I'm speaking in a conference in Zimbabwe, and there's also a summit that I'm speaking on. It's also the African Summit. So my vision really is to say, how do I make this knowledge that I have more accessible, and how do we create solutions that we can use as a society and in business?
All right, Dr. Mashele.